The greatest power you possess is your ability to choose. Join Lowe's Moore as he reveals how you can begin to maximize that power by exploring yourself on the deepest levels and committing to making lasting and positive changes. Get ready to achieve breakthroughs that will lead to accelerated growth and transformation, because you are now tuned in to the Blueprint.
Why they actions contradict the lamb. I'm fellowshipping when I'm with the fam.
Good evening. This is Lowe's Moore, and welcome to the Blueprint podcast. Man, I'm excited for another week. I mean, this has been awesome, man. I don't know if you enjoyed the weather today, man, but it looked like it jumped from crazy spring to crazy summer in just one day. I mean, last night I was thinking about I may have turned on the heat last night. I woke up this morning, I had to turn that heat off because it was hot. And man, I think it was like 81 degrees. And, tomorrow it could be 40. But I always say that if the Lord wakes me up in the morning, if he taps me on the shoulder or touch me with the finger of love and wakes me up, man, I'm going to get out that bed, man, and I'm going to get excited for another day and another opportunity to give him honor, praise, and glory. And also, it gives me another opportunity to be an example for whoever I can be an example for, and to help whoever I can help, man. So, hey, when you get up in the morning, man, we ought to give God thanks. And so I'm excited, for another Blueprint podcast, man. Thank you. I want to say thank you. Appreciate you guys for your support each week. Let me start out by saying, hey, I think I lost while I was in North Carolina. I had my little basketball, which was my pebble. And in the last couple of weeks, I've kind of missed dropping my pebble in the pond. Of course, Denzel said my life was like a pebble, right? And that was dropped in a pond, and that hopefully, he didn't say hopefully, it gave a ripple effect, that there was some blessing in the interim, some blessing in the middle, and some blessing at the end. And individuals are still being blessed, not just by me, but by you also. You're a pebble in a pond. And every time you speak something, every time you do something good for somebody, every time you show love and kindness, right? You're a pebble in the pond. There's going to be a ripple effect. Somebody's going to be impacted by your life and by your story. Right. And so I don't have my little basketball that I stole from my little Michael Jordan guy over there. But my wife brought me this rock. I don't know if you guys can see that. She brought me this rock. Right. And so this is my pebble. I'm going to drop it because I'm expecting tonight, man, is going to be awesome. Right. As we shift, as you noticed in March, we made a shift and we started talking about we invited on a number of pastors, started talking about faith, started talking about God, started talking about, God and the church during the course of the pandemic. We started to ask the question, is there more? And, I want to say thank you. Thank you to, Reverend Richardson, Pastor Poe, Bishop Darren Moore, Pastor Paul Sherrill, and Pastor A.R. Bernard. I want to thank them for being so transparent, so honest about the church and about God. And what can I say about last week? With Roy Smith and Donovan Mitchell Sr., and we saluted baseball. I got my couple of minutes of fame to show you guys my pictures, my baseball pictures from when I was a little kid, and I had a passion for baseball, loved the Mets. Matter of fact, I didn't even know that I had Mets colors that I chose for the Blueprint, and I didn't know that they Knicks colors that I chose for the Blueprint. But man, they are beautiful colors. And I was a big Met fan. I love baseball because of my grandfather. But it was one sport I couldn't do all year round. So when basketball came into my life, it was a sport that I could play all year around. And I was really good and passionate about it. And so I jumped into basketball and wanted, instead of playing for the Mets, I wanted to play for the Knicks. Now I didn't get that opportunity, but I did get a chance to play for the Nets. And that was pretty awesome at the time. And so we're shifting streams. We were talking about faith, and we're talking about supernatural lifestyle, and now we're shifting into another stream, right? A stream of wealth. What is wealth? What is prosperity? What is success? And many people think, I don't think we know what it is, what success is, but we want to find out tonight. And as we're in this pandemic, it's hard to think about prosperity. It's hard to think about wealth, right? It's hard to dream. It's hard to think about our blueprint. But as I've been saying to you through this whole pandemic, this is the time when you need to think about your plans. You need to think about your dreams, right? You need to think about your blueprint. While you're down, while it's a struggle, while we're fighting, we need to dream, right? And we need to develop our vision, and we need to develop our blueprint. So when we come out of this, we will be better prepared to launch whatever dream God has given us, whatever vision God has given us, and whatever assignment God has given us, and be able to execute whatever purpose God has given us. And so I'm excited tonight to get into this stream of wealth. And how do we build a wealth mindset? How do we create a wealth mindset? And we're going to get into it, but I want to start out with the books. Remember, I said books of the week, and these are some of my favorite books that focuses on building wealth and building a wealth mindset. And you see, I would probably be in a different place in my life. I bought the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill when I was in high school, man. And I made a mistake. By flipping through the book and not reading the book, because in that book, he does a study of 500 or more successful people, right? And those successful people did not start out with a silver spoon in their mouth. A lot of them struggled and came from all kind of adversity, all kind of disability, all kind of just terrible situations in order to become successful in life and build wealth in life. And that's a great book. But here's the key. It makes no difference when you pick that book up, whether you pick it up in high school, and you should. If you got a kid, if you got a young man, a young woman that's in high school or middle school, grab that book right there, Think and Grow Rich. Give it to them and let them start to read it, because there's some principles inside that book, man, that will change your mindset. And I wish I had kept that book and read that book all the way through up to now. But hey, it's never too late. You can pick it up now and still be just as good. You position yourself to think and grow rich. And then the other book is by Bob Proctor. We Were Born Rich, right? I think you can actually get that free, right? If you Google it, and Bob Proctor, I Was Born Rich. We Were Born Rich. Get that book, man, and start to delve in and start to change your mindset from a poverty mindset, from a negative mindset, and start to shift into a positive mindset, and to a prosperous mindset, and to a wealth mindset. One time I was having a discussion, there's a difference between being rich and being wealthy, right? You can be rich, have a whole lot of money, but not have your health. Wealth is when you have resources, plus you have your health. You have your spiritual health, you have your mental health, and you have your physical health. So make sure you get that book there, We Were Born Rich, right? And I think there's a couple more books I'm going to do real fast. And Dr. Miles Monroe on the Kingdom Principles, T.D. Jakes' book on instinct, and Pastor Bill Winston, Faith and the Marketplace. Those, I have all those books. And the reason why I put a book up every week, because most people who have a poverty mindset never think about a library. They never think about investing in themselves. And when you get books And when you listen to things that are going to increase you, not decrease you, you will grow. And I believe that every household should have a library in it. Every household should have books in it. And you should be growing. You should invest in yourself. Don't say that book costs that much money and that book, right? We always say it's, you become what you read and who you hang out with, right? If you're reading positive stuff and if you hanging out with positive people, you're going to one day end up a positive person, man. That's just awesome, man. That's an awesome word by itself. I'm already dropping some dimes and some nuggets already. And so I see, who's that? Sean Blake. What did he say there? He said, the richest man in Babylon. He's recommending that book. Yeah. Read. Your success, young and old, is determined by the ability to be literate. Not illiterate, but literate. Learning to read and comprehend and understand what that is. And so next I have the word of the week. There you go. The word of the week is wealth. Look that word up. Look that word up. The word of the week is wealth. And we're going to be talking about that a little bit later in the show. And then the next, my Pierce Hopper affirmation or quote comes from one of, a guy, Bob Proctor. And it's something I say almost, I'm not disciplined enough yet, but almost every day I say, I'm so happy and grateful now that money comes to me in increasing quantities through multiple sources on a continual basis, right? When you say that to yourself, when you get up in the morning, right, you'll draw resources to you. You will draw a favor to you. You got to have affirmation. It's something that you say, through repetition. You say it over and over and over again, that money comes to me in increasing ways, right? Hey, I mean, just awesome. It's coming from the east. It's coming from the west. It's coming from the north. It's coming from the south, right? Money is coming to me. Resources is coming to me. The word, that's the affirmation or quote of the week. Let me do some quick shout outs, right? There, Michael Scott. I had him on the show a couple of weeks ago. The law of attraction. Yes, he knows that. The law of attraction. Thank you, Michael. And let me do some shout outs. I gotta do a couple of shout outs. Right. Birthday shout outs. Right. I think I got that. That's my sister Tracy. Let me say, in between April and May, we got a bunch of birthdays, man. My birthday is on Wednesday. I'm getting a little bit older, but that's my sister Tracy right there. Happy birthday to my sister Tracy. And then my sister-in-law Dee Dee. I want to say happy birthday to my sister-in-law Dee Dee. Hey, I think, man, some of us are Taurus, right? And then I think I got one more. Happy birthday to Angie. She's all the way out in Maryland, DC area. I want to say happy birthday, man. Love you guys. You guys are awesome, right? And so this is a happy birthday shout out. For all who had a birthday in April and all who will have a birthday in May, I want to wish you a happy birthday, and I want to wish you many, many more. All right. So let's get right into it. I'm gonna invite one of my good friends, Hugo King. I want to invite him to the show. And man, Hugo and I have been around each other for a long time. I'm a decent golf player right now because Hugo took me to his coach, who was his basketball coach and ended up being the golf coach. And I'm a decent golf player because of Hugo, right? Other than that, before I met Hugo, man, I was what you call street golf. All my balls was in the street. And I was playing wood golf. All my balls was in the wood, right? I was playing water golf. All my balls was in the water until Hugo came along and saved my game, right? Hugo, what's up, man?
What's going on, Lowe's? I think you all those golf stories you just mentioned. One you forgot to say, Lowe's, you was actually when you first started out, you had the desire, but you were playing military golf. And you know what military golf is, right? Left, right.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
found
all over the
one
place.
out.
Yeah. But you know, you came along, and like you mentioned, we got you some help with a couple of pros and coaches, and sometimes it's all about information, relationships, and make things better.
Right. And check this out. We're gonna get into this little guessing game because you know a whole lot of people, right? And so we're gonna get in a little guessing game. Your son is in some of the pictures. We're gonna get in a little guessing game, but I want to tell a little story first. When I finally decided to take some lessons from Hugo's coach, it was myself and the legendary Nate Tiny Archibald, and and coach had taken us out to the driving range, and he was showing us technique and hitting the ball. And I remember, golf is an acquired taste, and I got with each thing that coach was teaching me, I got more and more excited. And I looked over at Tiny, who's a legend, Hall of Famer. I looked over at Tiny. Tiny was totally frustrated. He was like, "Look." And after the lesson, I'll never forget it. Tiny said, "I will never pick up a golf club again in my life." I was like, "What happened, man?" Like it's an acquired taste. He just could not acquire the taste for golf.
It's funny you say that, Lowe's, because Tiny went on to say, anything he doesn't have command of, he gets frustrated. It's like when you're handling that basketball, he had total command of it. When he's on the court, he had command of where he wanted to go, what he wanted to do, what plays were developing in front of him. He had total command. Well, on that golf course, it's just you in the course. And he just didn't have that passion for it. And we did everything to let him know, hey, you're a great athlete. You can make this adjustment. If you look at Charles Barkley, anyone can play golf. So, Tiny just lost his. After that day, Lowe's, that was it. You were absolutely right. And watch it on TV.
Yeah, definitely. And so we're gonna play this little quick game now. This, the blueprint is interactive, right? And if you're watching, we're gonna put up a picture, right? And we want to see whether or not we're gonna give you a few seconds. And if you recognize the person, we want you to just type it in and send it to us before we give you the answer to who it is. So if we can begin to show a few pictures. Let's see, Hugo. Oh yeah, anybody know who that is? Man, Hugo got an extensive network. Yeah, y'all know who that is? All right, Hugo, tell them who it is.
Yeah. Well, if you look at Law and Order, he's an actor, entertainer, he's a legend, and that's Ice-T.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I met Ice-T. Sometimes and I met a lot of celebrities before, as you have, right? And I found for most of the time that most of the guys, or men or women, have all been pretty nice people. They all been receptive, saying hello, and occasionally you get somebody who may not be as nice, but for the most part, most of the people have been really, really nice. I mean, if you're a celebrity, you know how hard it is to have people in your face, cameras in your face every single day, and everybody wants a picture all the time, or everybody wants something from you all the time. But yeah. So who's next? Who we got up in next? I mean, Hugo got an extensive. Y'all got to be quick. You'll know these guys next to Hugo. Oh, y'all gonna be slow tonight because Hugo. If you don't pop it up quick, Hugo, who you got there?
Anthony Alexander, Blackich. Yes, and people that love that show Power. That was Brandon Victor Dixon. He played in a cast member named Terry on Power. And also he was in Hamilton, the Broadway hit. And if folks are a little older that love Motown review on Broadway, he played with Barry Gordy. And that's a gentleman I introduced you to those that you guys became good friends. That's Brandon Victor Dixon.
Yes,
He also
sir.
was side by side on NBC with John Legend and Jesus Christ Superstar. That live show they did from the Barclays Center 2 years ago.
Yeah. You see my brother Curtis down there, you see at the bottom?
Oh, yeah. What's up? Hey,
What's
Curtis.
going on, Hugo? You practicing on your basketball game?
Well, yeah, believe it or not, Kurt, I get a shot up in there and they were like, who's this guy that can run around these young fellas? But I didn't realize that. We get old. But one thing like we just learn how to play within ourselves. And yeah, Kurt, I'll get some shots up. That's what keeps me going. Just for the exercise, competition. I can only dream as highly as you jump in that air and above the rim. I mean, you are an incredible player there, Kurt. So it's good to hear from you. I hope things are going well with you.
Yeah, I seen Curtis above the rim. Just recently, I was down in North Carolina, and he was above the rim. His grandson got a little basket that's on the floor. He was above the rim.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Yeah. And so show us another picture here. Oh man, y'all got to be quick. Y'all gotta know who that is. Yeah, that's one of my favorite Nick of all time. And I got a lot of favorites, but he's one of my favorite Knicks of all time. You don't know who that is? All right. You guys being slow. Who is that, Hugo?
Carmelo Anthony, my good friend. I mean, my guy talking about Frank coming back to life. He's coming back into the NBA, and you just never know. He's just lighting them up. He's a future Hall of Famer. Great guy. Yeah, good friend, good family guy. Carmelo is a person that everyone needs to understand and know his story. Baltimore guy, Brooklyn guy. I always tell you, Lois, you never look at what a person is in life. You look at the obstacles they have to overcome while achieving. And Melo has a hell of a story, and so much that he does. And also from a business perspective, a lot of things that we get things done through his business manager. So Melo, that's a recognizable face there.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna do one more, and as we go along, maybe we pop some more up there. So let's do one more, and then we'll move on. Oh, come on. Well, that's Hugo and his lovely wife. And I know y'all know who the other guy is. He's another one of my great for the Knicks. Very special time in my life, man. The Knicks won a championship 1972, 1974. Phil Jackson. Yeah, Curtis got it right there. He said Phil Jackson is on there. And everybody, Phil Jackson. Hold up. Everybody getting Phil Jackson.
Wow, he wants to come to life there, huh?
Phil Jackson came alive. Y'all woke up. Oh, everybody's awake now. So we're gonna get one more. We got one more person. Show us another person. See if they can get this one. Oh,
two of them there.
We having a Nick family night. Yeah. Right. I know y'all may know the person on the right, and you may know the person on the left, but who is the person in the middle? Anybody? Any guesses? Who's the person in the middle? Let me give
him a little clue there.
Little clue. Used to play with the New York. Well, no. I think he played with the Milwaukee Bucks, right?
No, actually played with the Knicks.
The Knicks, the Bucks, and he ended up being like the GM, right?
President.
Yeah,
president of the Knicks.
Houston.
Yeah, he's the president of the Knicks, and also as played
Who Curtis said it is? Ernie.
Yeah, well, someone's close.
You
It's
got
Ernie
someone
Grunfeld.
close.
Yeah, Alan Hughes. You almost there.
Hugo and Ernie.
Grunfeld.
Ernie Grunfeld. Ernie Grunfeld. Yeah. Yeah. So Hugo, let's jump right. We're gonna show some more pictures down the way, right? One of the purest jumpers. Ooh. Yeah, he had that jump shot was money in the bank. Sweeter than that country iced tea, man. Alan. uh, so Hugo, we're gonna show some more pictures of Hugo. Hugo and I have some things in common. Number one, we love basketball. That's without a doubt. Number two, we love helping people. That's number two. We have that in common. And then Hugo used to come down to the Boys and Girls Club. Man, he was down there so much, man. He supported the Boys and Girls Club financially, physically. He was at the Boys and Girls Club. Man, we made him an honorary alumnus of the Boys and Girls Club. Man, he did so much for the club, man. And hey, we it's just like you alumni, Hugo, just point blank, right? You alumni of the Boys and Girls Club Mount Vernon. We have some. Any other things we have in common, Hugo?
Oh yeah, like you mentioned, we love people. We love helping people. Loads. And more importantly, you were the chaplain for the NBA and Major League Baseball. You travel and before all games and letting both teams that were playing that particular night, they had chapel service if they voluntarily want to come in and had quite a few guys. So we had a lot in common from that perspective that guys can understand where faith and being thankful and understanding the power of God and having Jesus Christ in your life and being thankful and being on a platform where you can help so many people. Lowe's, you've done so much that you don't probably realize. And even there, that picture with Phil Jackson, you and Phil you're such a humble guy, Lowe's. Such a strong relationship. And Phil, of all the guys that he's coached in championships, from the Michael Jordans, the Kobe Bryants, and a real legendary guy. And out of all those beautiful relationships that he has shared, they still love him to this day. There's no greater relationship with all those guys. And I can go on all the way down the line who Phil Jackson influenced. You have the strongest relationship where you can get on the phone with him at any time, and the respect that he has for you in terms of who you are and what you represent. And so that's how we come together collectively, Lowe's, and have that common thread where we help people. And you'd be surprised how many doors open from there. So we have a lot of similarities.
Yeah, definitely. And so let's jump in it because we want to get to the topic for this evening, but we want to know a little bit about Hugo King, right? So Hugo, talk to us a little bit about, because hey, there's you always think you know somebody, man. And I've learned on here that no matter how close my relationship is with the individuals who have been on this on the podcast, on the BluePrint, that I learned a lot. I learned a lot about the individuals who's on the about them more deeply, more personal. They've been able to share. So talk to me about Hugo. Talk to me about where you grew up. Talking about mom and dad, and if they're siblings, and that experience, and then talk to me about becoming a husband and father, and also talk to me about the importance of education. I'm saying a mouthful, and the importance of faith. So it's the importance of family, importance of education, and the importance of faith.
Well, Lowe's, if you go back to that picture with Lacey with the background, if you go back one more, with me standing next to her, Theodore. Well, if you find that picture with that same background, the screen that says Lacey on it, And there's, if you could find the one that has the picture of me standing next to the Theodore Smiley Lacey. But as they're trying to find that particular picture, Lowe's, Theodore Smiley Lacey, you guys can look her up. Her mother and Rosa Parks, in terms of the movement, when Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat, Lacey's mother and her are very good friends. No, that's Leo, but
Yeah, that's not. If they have the same background that Hugo's standing, I don't know if we have that picture, Hugo. I know there was another picture like that. Go ahead, Hugo.
So anyway, she was the secretary when they had that movement, and when Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat, and that movement was developed. They were part of that march that went across the bridge there, and Lacey, she was the actual daughter, and she was named after. We talk about my wife, that her school is named after her, Lacey, and talk about family, talk about love, talk about faith. Back then, those days, if we remember the history of all the different movements that took place, that was the first real development that was organized with King there in Alabama, and then all the way up to the day with Lewis. So we had a lot of commonality there in terms of, as of late, in terms of history. But in terms of me personally, and I'll come back to this story, I grew up in the Bronx, believe it or not. You know, like I told you, I was a very, very shy guy, actually, and family of 13 brothers and sisters.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's a big, big family. You know, then, and believe it or not, Lowe's, I was a very, very shy guy. And I could just tell you a quick story, because when I was in college, you know, my freshman year, you know, I was actually dating a young lady that we went to church this about every Sunday. And then one Sunday, they invited me over for dinner, because, you know, that's what normally happens when we go to church on a Sunday. You always have a Sunday meal and dinner. So the next day in school, the young lady, she says, Hugo, my parents were very concerned about you. And I said, well, why? What happened? They said, well, not only were you shy the night before, but you didn't even talk to yourself. Little did they know that, you know, there's always hope and there's always possibility, you know. So what happened, I had some good breaks, loads, when it came to business as we move things along. And I went from a shyness person actually to understanding people skills, and understanding that the only way you're going to make it in life, you have to have some interpersonal skills and abilities and communicate with others. And so I had to develop that. And so I went on, and I got a chance to meet some really, really great people. Some good things will happen for me. And this particular picture here, if I may bounce and pivot real quick, you may remember the great rebounder, the tragedy that happened here with Jason Williams. This is in front of his home. He invited, he's a good friend, to come down when he had that $100 million contract, and he built a beautiful home that took up about 100 acres there in South Jersey. So we spent a great day together. So they gave me what I was holding in my hand there, some good giveaways to give to folks. But at any rate, I got a chance to meet some great, great people along the way. And then I was telling you, being a shy young man, believe it or not, and I got a chance to really, really exercise. Being with a big family of 13, you know, I couldn't get a lot of words in, because, you know, I was basically number 9, and there was a whole lot of folks ahead of me. When we came to dinner and sleeping and everything else, you have to learn to say something else. You get pushed way to the back of the line. But nevertheless, you know, get a chance to meet a lot of great people, and to speed up, because I don't think we get a lot of time here, Lois, because I can talk for days now. Believe it or not, this shy young man from the Bronx. But nevertheless, what happened was I got a chance through business to get some big breaks, learning the industry that I was in. When you had the retailers and supermarkets, um, that I had great relationships with one of the alumni from my college. And he told me, Hugo, you'll do very well in business. You're a good guy, you're a good person. And I didn't even know within my own self that all the abilities and purpose that I had. Because, in life, you only have 10% of your talent that you use in a lifetime. So I got a chance to buy a company. It was in the photography industry, as you go to Walmart or Target. So I dominated the whole country when it came to that business. I knew nothing about photography. My thing was criminal law, criminal justice. So nevertheless, I bought that company, and from the relationship, Lowe's has those pictures that you popped up, and just as well as when we were coming up together, and as you mentioned, you played in the league for some time, and every year the guys would come home, and the guys that stayed sharp in the NBA, we used to go down to this PAL Lowe's, if you remember, in the Bronx, and we'll have about 15 to 20 pros, the top of the line guys, and we'd play till 1 o'clock in the morning, sometimes later than that. And so what I did was how I leveraged that relationship as I developed people skills is that when we had events with people I was doing business with, and they needed to raise money for whatever the event may have been, they needed celebrities. And I had the celebrities all lined up, as you saw some of those pictures there. So what I would do is that whenever it was a vendor's support program, I would bring the celebrities to play with the vendors. And so at one point, and this is how life happens, you just have to be at the right place sometimes at the right time. We're talking about faith. Sometimes God has a purpose for you and you don't even know what he's doing, but he's working if you believe and you exercise your faith. And so what happened was I was at Pathmark. Pathmark was a supermarket chain that dominated a lot of our communities in New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, which is Connecticut. And the chairman, his name Jim Donald, he wanted me to meet Tiny Archibald, as you mentioned about the golf story at the beginning of this program here, Rose. And believe it or not, how things work and develop. So he knew I was coming to his office to meet with management. And he says, Hugo, the management guy, he says, look, our chairman, Jim Donald, wants to meet you, knowing that Nate Archibald would be there. So when Tiny came and he says, you can meet him 10 minutes before our meeting or after our meeting. Let me tell you something. We went there afterwards, 10 minutes turned into about 6 to 7 hours. He had nothing but basketball, powerful area in his office. And believe it or not, from there, life just turned completely around. So he was so excited because he was a little short guy, a little short white guy. Loved basketball. Always Tiny wanted to meet Nate Archibald. And now Tiny sitting in his office. And what developed from there is incredible. He wrote me a letter the next day. He says, Hugo, I can help you expand your business and let's write your program on a one pager. And I'm going to get it over to my guy that's the chairman of the company down south called Win Dixie. And this is in the 80s, 90s there. And Win Dixie, I had no idea what Win Dixie was. It's 1,500 stores. I says, oh, that'll be great. I love to get that business. And so that's how I got the Win Dixie business, Rose. And from there, the guy told me that was running the program, the chairman. He says, look, don't check into a hotel. Any friend of Jim Donald's a friend of mine. So at the time, I had got your good friend, Gus Williams, involved. So it's me, Gus, and Ira Keeperman, like three partners. What's the name of our company at the time was KK&W. My last name being King, and Ira being a gentleman that gave us all the knowledge that we needed in the food business. His last name was Keeperman, and Gus' last name Williams, so it's KK&W. So we stayed there at his property there, a gated community. We played golf. We developed a heck of a relationship, and we was able to get a lot of doors open from the business perspective when we started a food program. food brokerage company, we opened doors for companies that were $100 million or better that couldn't get in those doors. They needed to talk to what we developed as power brokers, what they call today connectors, because we had relationships with the number 1, 2, and 3 within all these companies, from pharmaceutical to club store. Because talking about club store, Gus Williams, when he played in Seattle in '79 on the World Championship, they won. His best friend, a big fan to this day, is the co-founder, Jim Senegal, and he's the chairman right now and only owner, because his partner passed not too long ago, of the largest and number 1 club store in the world called Costco. So everybody wanted to get into Costco, but they didn't have the relationship, so they had to come to guys like us as power brokers. And that's how the business had developed, and relationships that were created. And it was unbelievable. I never expected, just because this one guy, Jim Donald, wanted to meet Nate Tiny Archibald. As I said before, I was in the photography business, and I moved in, pivoted into the food business, and opened up so many doors, of which I'm doing today. So when you talk about family, talk about faith, a lot of things just start to take off at a rapid pace.
Yeah, and so and yeah, man, we I want you to intensify, because you always intensify with me, man. You kind of monotone, kind of relax right now, and so yeah, let's talk, because you drop you. I say on the most of the time on the show that my grandfather used to say, "Come here, boy. I got a nugget I want to give you, man." And then I'll be running over there, man, like he had something in his hand, but he didn't have anything in his hand. So he would say, "Hey, man, don't do this, or make sure you do that." He was always giving those nuggets. And then the commercial that came out some years ago with the NBA and Damon Lillard dropping dimes, and Kevin Love dropping dimes. So on this show, we give nuggets and we drop dimes. Now you just drop one as we get really seriously into creating or building a wealth mindset, right? And one of the things you said that was a number of things you said. Number one, I was shy, right? And a lot of people deal with shyness. It's a form of fear, right? Number two, you started to talk about skills, learning. People kept saying to you, Hugo, you're a nice guy, right? And you got some skills, right? And then number three, you dropped the nugget there talking about building relationships, right? Building relationships. So there's three things that you spoke about, or you dropped some dimes on already, right? And so and let me say this to if you got some questions for Hugo, I mean, it probably work best if you shoot us some questions here about wealth. But let me say this about Hugo. Now, no matter what situation, I'm never afraid. I'm never in fear, on calling. There are a lot of people, like if something's going on in my life, I'm just not going to call them. Some people say, I told you so. Some people will say to you, hey, yeah, man, I'm gonna pray for you. And, I don't know if they do, but maybe they do. Or they say, yeah, man, or they get into a negative stream. But in all the times that I've known Hugo, no matter what situation I find myself into, struggle, something about family, something about the Boys and Girls Club that I was dissatisfied with. If I call Hugo, he's the kind of person that changes a negative into a positive, right? And when you leave Hugo, right, you inspired. He says so many wonderful and powerful things. Part of a part of building a wealth mindset, right, or creating a wealth mindset starts with how you think. Thinking, be a thinker, right? And the power of your thoughts, right? And so, one of the things that I was saying about in terms of Hugo is that, and I was thinking about one of the most powerful things I learned in me being successful as a person, as successful as a man, as a husband, as a father, as an executive director, as a basketball player. I think one of the most important skills you can learn, you have to learn, is listening. And Hugo's going to say some things, and hopefully he usually gets a little bit more energetic, and hopefully he'll get a little bit more energetic because we like intensity, right? And I hope you got a pen and a piece of paper. You can write some of these things down because he's going to start quoting some stuff, and I want you to hear, because this is going to be things that are going to help you start to transition and transform into a winning mindset and a wealth mindset, or creating or building a wealth mindset. So let's jump into that, Hugo.
Okay, great, Lowe's. And then I'll kind of pick it up now. I'll kind of change gears here.
Yeah.
I was just being very conservative, and as you mentioned, very unassuming. But some people are in the way and other people are on the way. Lowe's. I always told you about the peak to peak principle. I was letting you know where I started as you asked me about family, you asked me about business and faith. I was tying it all together. But let me tell you, Lowe's, there's so much in between. You're talking about a wealth mindset. What happens there is, as you mentioned, as the Bible says, a person thinks, so is that person. If you think small, you'll be small. You think big, you'll be big. You see, God gives us two sides, and you can write this down: one to sit with and one to think with. and where you are in life tells what you've been utilizing the most. Heads you win, tails you lose. Okay, so some people are just thinking it over. Yeah, as we grow up in life and as we're born, as we got a chance earlier, Lowe's, before we went online, Charlie was able to show you his newborn baby. Just became a grandfather, and just as well as yourself, Dakota. Let me tell you something. You're born to win, but you're programmed to lose. Write that down. You're born to win, but programmed to lose. You come into this world with nothing on, and and there's a picture of my beautiful grandson and my son there. That little fellow Bryson. He's only 2 months old now, and he's born to win. But with program, what do I mean by program is how you train, how you teach. We tell these kids so many times what they can't do, how many no's they hear in a lifetime. No, do this, don't do that. They don't like to put a hat on. They don't like to have anything on their feet because they come into this world nothing. So they're born to win. They're like clay, and it's up to us how we develop that clay. And so that's what I mean by born to lose. Is that our teachers tell us what we can't do. Don't do this, don't do that. Put this hat on, take that thing hat on. But you gotta be a dreamer. And here's another thing you can write down. That's so important. The dream never dies, just the dreamer. If you are programmed to win and you have a dream and you believe in your dream and you have a plan of actions for your dreams, you'll be surprised what happens. But this world is a program you got to go to school, which is good. You got to be educated. Yeah, that's important as well. But if you want to be part of that 1% of that inner circle, you have to be a dreamer. And the only way you're going to get into that inner circle is that people are not going to let you in. And you got to have a good attitude. You got to have a good purpose. Because you see, you never in life have a money problem. You only have an idea problem. As you can see in this world today, if you come up with the right idea, money will flow to it. And Lowe's, as I told you so many times of different things of me being shy, I was always telling you about the peak to peak principle. You used to ask me, well, Hugo, what the heck are you talking about, peak to peak? See, once you get to a certain PEAK in life, you get a different PEEK in life. These are doors that are open or that you can call serendipities that you never thought of. So once that you understand that principle of peak to peak, you're on your way to greatness. And sometimes people don't understand that. See, all they do is like I said, Lowe's, I told you so many times, and you can write this down as well, as it just popped in my head. There's 3 levels of conversations you have in life. And every day you have a conversation, it's going to fall into 1 of 3 categories. Small mind, they talk about people. The average mind talks about events. The great minds talk about their dreams, their purpose in life. So my question to you is, who have you been speaking to today? The small mind, average mind, or the great mind? And they're going to fall into 1 or 3 of those categories. And let me tell you something. Life is short. We're losing so many people quick and fast in this life. You have to get on a fast track. Networking is so important. You got to be around good people, positive people, folks that are moving and making things happen. And Lowe's, as I told you so many times, and everyone that's listening, write this down. God can't steal a parked car. You know, you got to be moving. He didn't give us a body to sit with or just to be idle. He wants us to be moving and thinking and using that brain. That's only weighs 3 pounds. You see, when that 3-pound brain is down, what happens is that you can't even, when a 3-pound brain is down, guess what? You can pick up someone that's 260 pounds quicker than a 3-pound brain that's down. So that's why you got to be careful of what you let go inside that 3-pound brain, because what goes in comes out like the computer. So Lowe's, as you know, we have so many different conversations, and we understand the importance of being positive. And like I said, there's 5 things that you can control. 1 is your attitude. 2 is your actions. 3 is your words. 4 is your manners, which is respect. And 5 is your effort. So you can't control what people say, what they do, or how they act, but you can control how you respond to it. Everything is, believe it, comes down to how you think. See, it's a certain percentage, which is that 1% of people that control all the wealth in the world. And that's in the circle, they don't let you in. And once you are in there, however, it can take you 30 years or so to get in there in 2 seconds, as you see happening every day, to lose it. Because the decisions you make, everyone makes decisions and choices. Because if you don't make your own decision or choice, somebody else is going to make it for you. You might as well make it for yourself. And let me tell you, the decisions you make affects everyone. It affects your family, it affects your friends, it affects your community. So before you make any decisions, you want to make sure that decision is right. Say to yourself, if anyone's going to say no, that's important in your life, then you know it's not a good choice. 1, how God will feel about it, how your spouse, family. If any of them going to say no, you know it's not a good decision. So those are a couple of things there, Lowe's, that I can say to you.
Yeah, and you mentioned earlier, and you mentioned earlier about relationships, and also you mentioned about programs. We could call that a paradigm, like from the time you're born, right? We become programmed, right? And it's like, I was having a conversation the other day, and you know that I retired from the Boys and Girls Club, and I always had it's been programmed to me, and probably everybody that's listening, we've all been programmed. Like we've been programmed, like, okay, we're gonna grow up one day, right? We're gonna graduate from elementary school, middle school, high school. One day we're gonna we're going to college, or we're gonna get credentialed in something, right? But we've been programmed that somewhere down the line we are going to work for somebody, right? And that's most of the programming, right? There's not many programs where you grow up, right? You born, you grow up, and then somebody says, yeah, we want you to get your education, but we want you to own. It's a difference, but to have education that makes you dependent, or have education that makes you independent. Right. And so I think you have to be able to have the mindset that not only can I work for somebody, right, but I also can work for myself. And that's a shift in thinking. Right. And we see you, as you said, we see it every single day. We see it on, there are people who know how to use social media uh positively, even though all the millions of things we see on social media, Facebook and Instagram, there's so much negative stuff on there, but you can use it for positive, as well. And so there are many people who watch YouTube for negative things, but yet there are a lot of things on YouTube individuals who learn how to use YouTube positively, right? They start, I've seen people who were trying to get into acting, get on YouTube, start their own show, start their own idea, have their own idea. Next thing you know, they're on HBO, right? Next thing you know, they're featured on this show, right? People are putting their music on there, right? And so there are a lot of people out there who are thinking outside the box. Ask yourself, can I work for somebody, or also have the ability to work for myself? And so when you're talking about wealth, you're talking about investment. And you said earlier, you dropped a nugget or a dime. You said, if you got an idea, right? Sometimes it just starts with an idea, right? And so if you like, I had an idea. I had a part of my vision plan, being a part of the Boys and Girls Club. Somebody gave me an idea. They came up to me and said, "Lowe's, you ought to do your book. You ought to write your story." And I didn't think much of my story. I didn't think my story was worth telling. I didn't think my story was worth writing. But somebody came and said, "You should write a story." And then eventually, of course, I wrote a book. I wrote my book, right? And so, and then in my vision plan in 2019, at the bottom of it, I wanted to get out and speak. I wanted to share my story. I wanted to talk to people. I wanted to share all the experience that I had in my life. And then the pandemic hit, right? And at the bottom of my list, it said a podcast, right? And the next thing you know, I was talking to some people about a podcast, because one of my weaknesses, and can I be transparent? Let me be transparent. Because one of my weaknesses, and I think we all have weaknesses, but one of my weaknesses, and tell me if this is you, not you, Hugo, but tell me if you're out there, if this is you, you think of something, right? And you think of it and you say, "Man, I got an idea," right? And then you just keep thinking about it and thinking about it. You don't write it down, right? And next thing you know, you look up, because thoughts travel, right? You look up and somebody else is doing it. You look on television or the radio and you hear your idea, right, coming from somebody else's mouth, or you seeing your idea on television, but you thought about it, but you didn't do anything about it, right? That's called procrastination, right? And that's one of my weaknesses, is I come up with stuff. I think about stuff, so forth and so on. But for a long time, I didn't do anything with it. But man, when the podcast idea came up, I was like, man, I went to somebody and said, "How do you get it done?" And the next thing you know, man, within a month, I was up and running, right? Because one of my goals was to stop procrastinating, right? Don't procrastinate, and do it. If you put it down on paper, right? Write it down. Start to build a blueprint. Start to figure out how this thing works. Do the research, right? Get with people who know what a podcast is, and different things like that. And that's what I did. And next thing you know, but tonight is my 49th show, right? And that was a few like last year when I started. So yeah, so talk a little bit about, as we think about the this wealth mindset. Talk a little bit more about that.
Well, what's important, though, as you mentioned, is that you have to have a dream. because without a dream, you have no purpose. As you mentioned, when you get up in the morning, earlier Lowe's, you had mentioned that you say good morning, God, or good God is morning. So you have choices to make every single day. And see, and one thing that's so important, Lowe's, that we all have to learn, and I know I have to learn, you're talking about a wealth mind set, you have to understand it starts by how you think. See, sometimes I will never forget with Denzel Washington, and he looked up to Gus Williams, going way back, because Gus was a little older than D, and D obviously in the Boys Club, and he has told this story many times. Well, two things happened. There was a gentleman at the CYO, basketball, as you know, Lowe's, that's our background. They're about 10 years old, something like that. Age group. And they had a game, and Gus was guarding this guy, this young kid. And this young kid, they were up 1 point, a couple of seconds to go. And Gus developed a skill at a very young age. He stole the ball and went in and beat the team. He scored that last basket. And the kid was humiliated. He stole the ball from. And the kid was crying, so upset. And your coach there, those, I think it was Jones, I forgot the gentleman's name. He said, son, if this is how you handle adversity, find something else to do with your life. And that boy, and everybody that's listening know who that guy is. They got the ball stolen from him. His name is Denzel Washington. Folks don't know that story, but once you talk to D, it's a true story. And so he looked up to Gus, because the Boys and Girls Club, as you know, served the community. So when Gus played in the NBA, actually he went to USC, and he brought home, as always, a banner. And one of the banners he brought in was USC. And I think whoever put it up in the gymnasium. And Denzel looked up and said, where is that? Where's USC? They said California. I was like, California? So I bring up that point so people can understand. Your home doesn't have to be your world. The world could be your home. So we have to think big. You have to understand the mind is like a parachute. It's only effective when it's open. Like the rubber band, it's only effective when you stretch it. And sometimes we go to our grave with our music still in us. What do I mean by that? If you got a song to sing, sing it. If you got something to talk about, talk about it. You got a place you want to go. Because you go to the gravesite, guess what? Those are dreams never pursued, words never said, things never done, and it's over. So you have to, like Lowe said, when you get up in the morning, you got to have a purpose. You got to write down your dreams. You got to write down your goals, your purpose in life. Because life and the world will beat you up. Like Lowe said, you just get a job and you work for someone. And you want people to work for you. You want to be able to have ideas, and you want to be able to have your purpose. Everyone is born with a purpose. You're not just here existing, even though some people you never know, because some people walk around, they're dead, but no one notified them. They just here. They just here. So like I said, when people are in the way and others are on the way. So you got to be careful what you're around, but you want to be a dreamer. You want to be able to find out your purpose. And let me tell you something, we all have a purpose in life. So you want to build your dream by writing down and reducing your thoughts to paper, and be around people that can help you get where you want to go. And like I said, you got 5 things you control: your attitude, which is so important, your words, your actions, your manners, and your efforts. It's so important that we understand that. And again, we're born to win, but we're programmed to lose. And we're talking about wealth. And the folks that I know that's in part of that inner circle, just think in one way. It's dreams and goals and purpose, and you got to have a good balance in your life. But you want to be around those that you can commit to the right vehicle to make these dreams come true. And what I mean by the right vehicle, these are people that are making things happen, not watching it, not letting it, but making it happen. And once you're around that type of mindset, helps you to develop a certain type of thinking within yourself. It's so important. Two things: is information and relationships. See, the world is full of unsuccessful, talented people. They just don't get a break because they don't have the relationship. And so that's why it's so important to be around those that can get you to that next step. I was very, very lucky that this gentleman, Ira Keeperman, he saw the value in me that I was doing very, very well for myself and doing, extremely well. And so I thought I was on top of the world. And, I know I had my boss, I really never really had a job. I was kind of controlling a lot of good things. And this guy knocked on my door. He says, Hugo, you got great, great relationships. I see how all these CEOs and the presidents cater to you within these companies. I wanted you to come up and meet me in my office, which I did. I sat down with him, this guy, Ira Keeperman, in Orangetown. And he said to me, Hugo, I'm in the food business. I see that, you have great relationships, and I need you to find me one clean-cut celeb. And with your relationships and Ira with his knowledge of the food industry, this is an idea now. We formed a company called KKW. He showed me at that time, and this is in the 80s, about 17 checks that he received on a weekly basis. And back then, those checks were averaging about 15, 16,000. He got my attention immediately. I thought I knew it all. But when he shared that wealth with me, and he says, look, we can form our company, and this is what we can do. I'll show you how the food industry works. You have the relationships. And Gus, which I brought into the business, because he never really liked to work. Gus never had a working mentality. So he was a perfect fit, and he had that clean cut look, and he can conversate with anyone. He just fits in. He did what everyone loved to do, is play golf, because that's the actual boardroom. And so we formed a company, and that business and industry, everybody had to eat. I don't care who you are. You can be black, you can be white, you can be rich, you can be poor. You have to eat. So Ira put me into a business that I never thought I would ever be in. And you're talking about a wealth of mindset. See, people are drawn towards how you think. So Ira saw something in me that I didn't even see in myself. See, and we're talking about leveraging relationships and building on those relationships. Sometimes people will see in you what you don't even see in yourself. As Lowe said, some things are delayed gratification in his life that he's learning, because you see, life has a way of introducing itself to yourself, and it's up to you to make those choices. But the key is that you have to have those relationships. And those relationships, again, you meet people every day. You'd be surprised. You have to just let people know who you are, what you're doing. And believe me, you'll be able to connect with the right opportunity if you learn how to be around people that are moving in the right direction of where you want to go.
Yeah, and that's so important, because you know those relationships, and you were talking about relationships. You were talking about thinking, right? And I remember my whole focus in regards to becoming a professional basketball player started with my thoughts. Right, saw the Knicks on television win the NBA championship. Saw Walt Frazier, Willis Reed, Earl Pearl Monroe, and all those great players. And I said in my mind, that's what I want to be. I started thinking, right? I start thinking, and then I started to ask questions. See, if you're going to build a successful mindset, right? You can say, "Oh man, that's too hard. I can't do that." Oh man, that's hey, life is hard. Life is tough, and the thing is, when I woke, I always tell the kids in elementary school. I said the first thing when I was in sixth grade, I wanted to be in the NBA, and the thing is, I took a pen out, a piece of paper, and this is for everybody who's trying to build a wealth mindset, or regardless of age. I mean, I got a birthday coming up, man, and I'm in legacy mode, right? So I'm leaving legacy now, but yet, I tell kids I'm always dreaming. I'm always thinking about, man, and listening to God and see what's next. What my next chapter is. And so, I wrote down on a piece of paper, if you got an idea, Hugo talked about a dream. If you have a dream, write it down. That's the first thing you need to do is write it down. I wrote down, NBA, New York Knicks, wrote it on a piece of paper, put it by my light. So when I went to bed at night, I turned that light off. The last thing I seen was my dream. I woke up in the morning, the sunlight, right? Or if it was still dark, because sometimes you get up in the morning and it's still dark, right? And you get up and you turn on the light, and there what you see is your dream, right? So with me, it started about writing my dream down, right? And it started to think about it all the time. Started thinking about it, and then start to figure out how to make that happen. Because some questions I had to ask, was I athletic? Did I have any basketball talent? Right. And of course I did. But then when I started to ask my teacher, how do you become an NBA player? And I'm in elementary school. So you got to graduate from elementary school. You got to graduate from middle school. You got to graduate from high school. You got to go to college. And I was like, man, I wanted to get into basketball because I didn't want to do education. Right. But it made me go home after my teachers told me what to do. It made me go home, sit on the bed and look at that dream and look at what I wrote on there and ask myself, do you like basketball or do you love basketball? And I realized that I loved it. Right. And so I was willing to ask the question. It motivated me to become a better student, motivated me to become a better person. Right. And so, that's the real key. Hugo's talking about that. It starts with what you think about. And Hugo, that's very powerful. And let me say this too, and I'm gonna go back to you, Hugo, because we're gonna finish out. Let me tell you, if people let you off easy, and there's a tendency, if you're good at something, right, people will let you off easy. Sometimes if you handsome or you're beautiful, or people think you're handsome, beautiful, and people think you're talented, and so they make it easy on you. Oh yeah, I'm gonna give you breaks, and don't let nobody give you any breaks. Right, my third grade teacher, Miss Sherman, I'll never forget her name. She from German descent, right? And I was always looking for somebody to give me the answer, give me, and she used to say, man, don't let anybody ever give you anything. Third grade, work for it. Now, what? I'm 63 years old. I'm about to be 64, right? And I remember my third grade teacher telling me, don't let nobody ever give you anything, right? And I remember this last thing here is that I remember I was doing well on the young team, and I remember Mr. Jones moving me up to play with a little bit older team, right? And I remember him putting me in the game, right, at the end of the game when the most crucial time, right? And we were down by, and we didn't lose many games, right? So I get the ball. They throw me the ball. I freaked out. I didn't know what to do with the ball. We were down one. We were down one, and they fouled me, right? And I had a chance to go to the free throw line and shoot a free throw to tie the game and a free throw to win the game, right? I got up there and that ball felt like a weight. It felt like I had just lifted up some barbells or something, man. And when I shot an air ball, and everybody's laughing, air ball, boo, And so they throw me the ball again, right? And I get up, and that thing got heavier. And when I shot it, it went in the air, and it came right down at the dots, right? The buzzer goes off. We lose the game. Man, I go home crying and, all messed up over it. A couple of days later, we have another game, and he moved me up to play again on that team. And I didn't want to go, man. I was like, man, I didn't want to tell him I didn't want to go, but I didn't want to go. And we got into the same scenario at the end of the game, and he put me back in the game again, right? But this time he said, look, just play hard, Be yourself. What you've done in practice have proved that you can do this in the game. And I went out, and of course, I hit the winning basket, and it just changed my perspective. Right? So you got to have people around you that are going to build you up, take you through tough situations, so and build some endurance inside of you and some toughness inside of you, so that you can, because the world out here is tough. So you got to be able to endure. So Hugo, talk a little bit more in these last 15 minutes. Let's talk a little bit more about building and creating a wealth mindset.
Yes, Lowe's. Again, as you mentioned, it all comes down to information and relationships. And like I said, the world is full of unsuccessful, talented people. But the way you get and develop that mindset is you have to be around people that are winners. Because you got winners, as you mentioned, and you got losers. And you have to make those choices. You have to understand, everyone is born with a purpose in this life to be whatever they want to be. And it doesn't matter. Education is important as well, as you mentioned, from third grade on. Yeah, you have to have an education because information and knowledge is important in all that you do. It's one thing that I have that's great is that I have great educated team of folks that do so many great things for the organization and the team that I have, that you really have to understand if you want to work for someone, be the best at what you do. If you want to build your own dream, be a dream chaser to the day you don't have any more air in your body. But what happens is that you'll get that break in life. The idea will always be alive. And like I said, the dream never dies, just the dreamer. The music never stops, just the singer. You sing love isn't love until you give it away. So you have to have that mindset that you're going to find what you're looking for. Because if you knock on enough doors, the right one will open. But people got to know who you are. That's why you got to be around the right folks. Like I said, some people will give you a feel good conversation, and all you do is feel good after the conversation, but there's no movement. You have to have the dream. You got to put that dream together by writing it down. You got to come up with a plan of action. Who dominates in that field? Who can I talk to? You meet people every day. You'd be surprised who you'll run into. Because words are important. As I said, that's one of the 5 important things. It's your words. It's your attitude. You just have to be, they say, in it to win it. You meet folks everywhere you go. And here I am as a shy folk from the Bronx. And, I've been told I'm a talking because I just love people. So I like to bring out the best in the individual. And it's like others have brought out the best in me. And we all possess greatness. See, we all born with the seed of greatness. We have to understand that we can achieve anything if you believe, you have the faith, and you can do it. No matter what it is, you can do it. And wherever you are, like I told you, Lowe's, all the time, you have to blossom where you're planted. Again, you must blossom wherever you planted. You make the best of wherever you are. And understand, and as I told you, Lowe's, all the time, you meet good people all the time. You got to leverage that. See, because one of the philosophies that I use is, and we would live by it until the day I'm no longer, is that we don't engage in any activity that doesn't benefit everyone it directly affects. It's got to make sense for all people involved, else we don't get involved in it. Some people just have one way of thinking. Some people will circumvent your ideas and dreams, like the Lord said, if you don't pursue your own. But never ever stop dreaming. That's the key in life. You got to have a dream, and then you got to have the right vehicle that you commit to make that dream come true. What do I mean by the right vehicle? I mean, if you want a big house, it's going to be hard to work on minimum wage. Right? So if you want a big house, you got to figure out, well, what do I do best? How do I get there? Who do I know? What do I need to do? What do I need to develop? How and what vehicle do I need? And you'd be surprised the talent that you have of people that you know around you that have talent that can help you develop your dream. And that's the key. Like I had so many conversations with Lois through the decade about the same subject we're talking about. Because I know so many folks that just started out with an idea. I mean, we got some history that shows us that, you can look at Dave Thomas, no one believed in him, but his niece named Wendy. He had looked at his paycheck, looked at his pension, and he says, "Oh man, I can't make it." So he started flipping hamburgers, and even though that was a crowded space, but everyone started laughing at him. That he had his own uniqueness in terms of a certain taste of his burger. And then it's a dream today that became to fruition. And the only one that believed in him was Wendy.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and so this month, the month of May, we're going to be talking about wealth, man, and talking about a wealth mindset. And I think or wealth or successful mindset, right? And I know that every kid I know has a dream. You ask them, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" There is, when you talk about wealth, you got to talk about, I think it is Dr. Miles Monroe. He talks about the seven spheres of wealth, right? And in it, he talks about, so we're not, you can just, because as soon as somebody say wealth, right, they automatically think just money also. So when we talk about wealth, we're not just talking about money, but we're talking about spiritual wealth. We're talking about mental wealth or intellectual wealth or being educated. We're talking about physical health. Well, that's physical wealth. We want to be healthy. We want to be wise. We want to have faith, right? We want to have wealth in our social life, right? We want to uh, have wealth in our community, being able to be philanthropists, giving back in our community with our time, our talent, and our treasure. We want to be influential. We want influential wealth. We want to influence people, right? And so when we talk about wealth, we're not just talking about money, because you can have all the money in the world, but if you don't have peace of mind, right, and if you don't have good health, right, that's not wealth. So just having money, right? And I know a lot of wealthy people that had wealth, had resources, but didn't have no relationships. Hugo talked about relationships earlier, right? They had no relationship, they had no networking ability, no family, right? But they had wealth. So we're talking about holistic wealth. We're talking about not just money, but we're talking about all the other things that go in that way as well. And Hugo, what do you think? What when you first met some of these in these final minutes, when you met some of these guys like the owner of Costco's and Quick and Rally and all these wealthy guys, what was when you met them, man? What was it like, and what were they thinking? When you met them.
a good question, Rose. You can throw Bill Gates in there too, because he was there in this as in Seattle. When I met this guy, I didn't even know who he was. He was so nerdy and smart and bright. And so we met at his place, and his office is amazing. His workplace, where they have a daycare center, Lowe's, they have a doctor's office, they have a gymnasium. So they had all the resources that you needed to maintain and his employees, as you know, are some of the most wealthiest in the world, because he created the right environment that's conducive to all the needs that each individual needed in terms of work for him, especially his executive and senior team, and pivoted into the Jim Cynical's. Jim Cynical, co-founder of Costco. When I met him, it was just like talking to you. I mean, the guy was unassuming. He reminded me of Mr. Roger. He just walked around with a badge with his name on it. It says Jim. And this guy, he has a company that does $189 billion. And he's one of my good friends. And meeting him for the first time, he says, Hugo, because he loved Gus. Gus, back then in Seattle, he was the Michael Jordan of the Seattle era. And so the relationship, there we go, was already established. And so he told me, he says, look, Hugo, you don't need a lot to get into my world. You come in with one or two good items and you never have to really work again. He made me feel so comfortable, and he was just so laid back. And that's why it's so important when you meet people, you have value. They see the value that you have. They see your character, your faith, and so meeting him was incredible. And the same thing with Jim Donald. I told you that story because they believe in you. They see the good in you. They see that you have a purpose and that you're thinking big, and they know that your purpose in life is going to take you where you want to go because you're thinking that way. And thinking is so important. Because our thoughts go through our mind every day. It's what you believe. I think the Bible says it, and I don't think I know it says it. It says what report you're going to believe. You have to believe in the report of the Lord, simply because certain things just don't change in life. People and places may change, but the soil remains the same no matter where you go. And you'd be surprised once you get into that inner circle. I mean, meeting Cynical, he told me about Bill Gates. I never knew about him. But all these guys hang out together. I mean, and then Howard Schultz. Howard they owned the Seattle Supersonics and Starbucks. And let me tell you, Jim Donner, the guy I met, he called me. He says, Hugo, your guy Gus, that's in Seattle, how's his relationship with Howard Schultz? I said, what's his relationship? We were just at the game. The other night, that's when the Seattle Supersonics was playing, as they're the Oklahoma Thunder today.
Mm-hmm.
We brokeraged that deal. Those two guys got together in the Hamptons, and then 3 months later, Jim resigned as the CEO and president, and you guys can look him up, Jim Donner of Starbucks. They brokeraged the deal. He became president of Starbucks. And Gus and I was able to put that deal together. And why? Because that's what happens, when you put the great minds together. And that's why certain people just wind up showing up, and you're like, how did he get that job? It's because he knows someone.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And that's what happened. So we brokeraged that job, and Jim became chairman, and Starbucks took off, and now he's the chairman of a company called Albertson. Albertson's about 2,800 supermarkets, covers 17 banners. Here in the Northeast, the Acme stores, and up in Connecticut Shores, in the Mid-Atlantic or Safeway. So I know we're running out of time here, Lowe's, but this is how things develop through relationships. And these are the conversations, as I mentioned to you before, the big and the strong minds talk about ideas and dreams and goals and purpose. You don't waste a lot of times, and you enjoy life at a different level as well.
Yeah, and as we come to a close, let me say this to you out there, as we delve into this month of creating or building a wealth mindset. I think one of the things that whether you be old or young, Hugo said it earlier, you got to learn how to dream, right? And I think you should sit around, man, and instead of just talking nonsense and all the time and playing video games, maybe you sit around and think about how you're going to build a new video game company. How you're going to create your own app. How you're going to start your own business. I've been dreaming about this. I've been thinking about that. And you sit around and you go from thinking about it to writing it down, from writing it down to started thinking about with some associates, some friends, how this thing is going to get activated. Right. And Hugo said it earlier, everything starts with an idea. It starts with what you think, your mind. So, yeah, we're going to, Hugo, thank you, man. I appreciate you. I appreciate your friendship, man. I appreciate you taking the time out tonight, man. And spending some time and talking about your experience and talking about helping it begin for a paradigm shift in our thinking. Right. I thank you. I appreciate you. Right. And, man, I love you, brother, man. And for everyone who joined tonight, man, I want to thank you for your support each week, man. I look forward to seeing you guys next week. It's Mother's Day. And so we're going to have a Mother's Day special to be announced. And then after that, we're going to have we're going to talk a little bit more about wealth throughout the rest of this month and into June. And we're going to try to see by the end of June if we can get your mind straight and start to getting you to think in a wealth mindset. And I think it was TD Jake said, if you're the smartest person in the room, man, get in a room where you feel stupid, and then you'll learn something. And so again, thank you for your support. Love you guys. God bless you, and enjoy the rest of the week. Hugo, awesome, man.
Thanks, Lowe's. All the best, my man. Love you too.
All right.
Bye, guys.
All right.
We really hope you enjoyed this episode of Lowe's More, the BluePrint podcast. Stay connected and follow us at our website, www.lowesmore.com. That's LOWESMOORE.com. You can also join the discussion on Twitter at Lowe's More and on Facebook at Lowe's More Jr. As always, thank you for pushing your mindset towards a better reality. This concludes the most thought-provoking portion of your day. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this podcast to stay fully up to date with everything we're up to. Until next time, be kind to yourself and each other.
What they teaching is a joke. I ain't buying it like I'm broke. Insufficient funds for